City Council Health Committee Chairman is a gentleman by the name of Mark Levine, and apparently he's been very hard to reach, but he's agreed to come on our show to have an open and frank discussion about what's going on here in the five boroughs. So, Mr. Levine, it's Craig Carton and Evan Roberts on The Fan. Thank you for agreeing to join us this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. I'm really excited to be here and happy to give you an excuse not to have to talk about the Jets.
Well, listen, we'll take that as often as possible, for sure. So there's a lot to get to. Let me start off with the kind of general big picture question, and that is there a plan in place that you know of that is going to be announced in short order that's going to, A, get these kids back into school, and B, allow these kids to start playing sports again?
Well, those are decisions that the mayor will make. But I'll say this. I think with the right protocols, kids can start playing sports again. There's a health benefit. There's a psychological benefit. We got to be careful because COVID's out there. It's still a really risky time. But if we have testing, if people stay home when they test positive or don't feel well, if we limit crowd size of spectators, if we have real good protocols on mask wearing and hand washing, we can do these things. Well, and I want to talk about making this happen and adding my voice to chair the health committee.
Yeah, here's what I'm trying to figure out. If Nassau County can do it and Suffolk County can do it and Westchester County can do it, why aren't you guys able to do exactly what they're doing? Why is there such a disconnect when it comes to the kids in the five boroughs?
Well, remember, New York City has an extremely high rate of COVID spread right now, much higher than the rest of the state. We're at 4,000 new cases a day. And while other parts of the state and country have had a really dramatic drop since early to mid-January, we've only had a fairly mild drop, and it's really now plateauing at about 4,000 cases a day with a new variant that's emerged. You've seen coverage of this, the New York City variant. It's out there.
Right.
And we got to take that seriously. So I think the caution is warranted. But, you know, there's also health benefits to allowing kids to play sports. So even people who are thinking about health all day, I think, get that. And there's got to be protocols in place, and the leagues are going to have to implement that. But parents I've talked to, coaches I've talked to have said, we'll do anything on the health protocol front. And so let's make it happen.
So where are we in the process then? It's March 3rd. Like, what's the status now of getting these kids the ability to play again?
So the governor on February 1st announced that local jurisdictions could make this decision. And many have. I think you talked about the suburban communities, which have already started. So this is in the hands of the mayor. And I know there's deliberation internally. I know the health department and the mayor are currently deliberating on this, but I'm not privy to those conversations. I hope there'll be an announcement soon. I don't know the timing of that, but I think folks should speak up. And if you feel this is the right thing to do, if you feel that we can safely start high school sports, then I think you should let the mayor know and talk about your commitment to safety. Again, no one wants to be reckless. These are about kids we want to protect. But talk about the ways that these leagues can be safe. They can have the mask wearing, the hand washing.
Yeah, but so here's what I don't get. Like, you're all a bunch of really bright guys, and your neighbors are doing it. For example, the Catholic High School Athletic Association, which has written to you and tried to contact your office multiple times, they were able to play the low to medium risk sports, in the fall and winter. The public schools couldn't even do that. So I'm trying to figure out why, if I live, a mile away and I'm in, Nassau, Suffolk County, or I'm in Westchester County, why they've been able to figure out why their kids aren't at a greater risk for COVID, but you guys haven't.
Yeah, look, so I had my staff search today, and we got 2 emails from the Catholic Sports League, and that's on us for not responding. Even Eli Manning occasionally threw an interception, so this is our bad. But I'm thrilled to be here talking to you and would love to talk to the league as soon as possible. I'll give your producer my cell number, and they can reach out. But look, I've been fighting for youth sports throughout this pandemic. Back in August, you probably remember this. There was a huge problem where the city's parks department was refusing to grant permits to youth sports leagues, and I added my voice to that, and we got it done. Because I believe in the health benefits, the mental health benefits of sports.
So let me ask you this: Would you let? I'll just use the Catholic High School Association. I don't want to be clear. This should be for all kids, not just the Catholic high school kids or your private, non-denominational schools. It's got to involve the PSAL as well. It has to. All right.
100%.
And and a lot of those kids are not kids of privilege or not kids that can pay tuition. They're kids that need the release, like, all the kids do, white, black, and different, don't matter to me, right? So if the Catholic High School Association said to you, our parents, our people have said, green light, go. Would you support making the fields that they need to play those sports available to them immediately?
Well, look, field access is a battle, and I want to talk about that. But I would certainly support allowing them, given their safety protocols, and I'm sure they're committed to that, to restarting those leagues. Absolutely, and it should apply to public school, private school, parochial school.
So then here's my question.
And all of them.
When you speak to the mayor, because I'm sure you've had face-to-face or Zoom meetings, however you guys do it, I'm sure you have had meetings with the mayor and his staff. What do you think the current, I'm not talking a year ago, 6 months ago, as we were just trying to figure out what COVID was. We've got the information now. I read a missive, whether you like it or not, from Governor Christie in New Jersey, saying the science proves kids can and should be back in school and participating in after-school activities. Based on your most recent conversation with the mayor, what is the holdup?
Look, I think they're understanding that this fear we had of catching COVID from touching a surface, touching a ball, touching a railing, that turns out to be not nearly as risky as we had feared. There is worry about ventilation. This is an airborne sickness. And so every school classroom has to be examined for good ventilation. But the city has elementary school back in-person part of the week. Middle school has been added. And I think as we add vaccination, as we get adults vaccinated, we can do even more. I want to remind folks that there's no vaccine for kids yet. And there probably won't be, maybe for high school age by September, and for younger kids probably into 2022. So that's on us as adults. And look, guys, Craig, Evan, if you want to reopen schools, you want to get sports going again, you should be champions for vaccination, because that's how we're going to keep kids safe.
Yeah,
kids
listen, I'm with you on that, but here's the thing I don't get, and I'm trying to figure it out. I really am. That the Catholic high schools in the 5 boroughs, their kids are physically in school. Now, kids have the right, their parents do have the right to say, I'm only going to do virtual. But by large part, the majority of those kids, so you're talking, 1,000 plus kids, are physically going to school, and there has not been some type of outbreak or ridiculously large number of COVID cases directly associated with those kids being in school. You guys are aware of that. You guys, I know, put out something this morning or last.
Absolutely. And
so
look,
why isn't it the same for the public schools?
Well, the city has done more to reopen than other big cities in America, and we've seen good data on the safety of schools. But we got to keep teachers and staff and kids safe, and so I support being extra cautious about that, and support pushing to get teachers vaccinated so that they can protect kids. This is complicated. We have to prioritize safety. And look, we've got elementary and middle school back in session for many kids, at least part of the week. And there's possibility of doing more as vaccination comes online.
Have you seen any data based on those kids going back to school that there was a concerning rise in the number of COVID cases that makes you think it was a bad idea?
There's not good data that there's spread in the schools, and that's a big deal. But as the number of cases has risen in communities and citywide, we're seeing more kids test positive, more staff test positive in schools. So let's also remember that we have a really high level of COVID spread in New York City. We have variants which are on the rise. The UK variant is here, the South African variant, the Brazil variant, and now the New York City variant. They're all in the 5 boroughs of New York City. Is that cause for panic? No, but it should be cause for concern.
So is the bigger holdup then the variants that are here, the amount of people testing positive, or is it more of the protocols that need to be straightened out? That's more of the thing holding up a return to playing sports for these kids.
I think the protocols have gotten better and better in schools, more testing, and definitely need to push the envelope on ventilation. This is an airborne disease. We know that better than we did a year ago. But public health leaders I talk to are saying we got a challenging few weeks ahead. The outlook for a few months from now, because of vaccination, is actually really optimistic. I think we're going to have a summer that, if it's not quite normal, is going to be normal-ish, with outdoor barbecues, more activities, even more indoor activities, more travel with special precautions.
So let me ask you this. I know that we learned yesterday when we started talking about it that the mayor is planning some type of major announcement regarding the return of organized sports for high school kids. Do you have any idea what that announcement might be?
I don't have inside information, but I'm excited to hear that, and I'm hopeful that it will be a resumption of sports for high school kids.
Can you, in your mind, can you see an opportunity for kids to continue to learn virtually, but also participate in sports?
Well, absolutely. I think you said it right yesterday. You can do distance learning, but you can't do sports via Zoom. And so I think it deserves the opportunity because of the health benefits to resume in person. It sounds like the mayor may be moving in that direction. And I think that speaking up the way you are, having kids and parents speak up, is incredibly helpful. And look, I'd ask you to also show that you care about the health aspects, show that you care about vaccination, that you care about preventing the spread, that you're being thoughtful about that. I think that'll win credibility for the cause.
Yeah, we do.
Parents and school leaders.
We do. Listen, we all want our kids and our families to be healthy. And I think, whether it's the PSAL, whether it's the Catholic High School Athletic Association, every decision they make is made with the thought of keeping our children safe. No one's saying, hey, throw caution to the wind and let a couple kids go wrestle, and if they get sick, so be it. No one's saying that. What they're trying to figure out, for example, on the Catholic side of it is, their people voted. Their people are ready to go. They played some sports in the fall and winter. They want to play the quote-unquote high-risk sports. Their parents have said yes, but the mayor continues to say no. So they believe that someone like yourself, who's the city council health committee chairman, is part of whatever think tank of men and women that are put together and given the responsibility to greenlight the safe return of kids to the playing field. So they view you, I think, currently, especially because they weren't able to get in touch with you and you guys were non-responsive to letters and 2 emails, they view you as a stumbling block in trying to get them answers that their communities are desperate for.
Yep. Well, look, I am so out there. I am on TV, on Twitter, on radio constantly. I'm easy to reach. We fumbled it on this one. I own that. But look, I've been a champion for resuming sports in the parks. We won. And I'll tell you, have me on again about my next fight, which is increasing field space in Manhattan, where there's a desperate shortage. There's a lot we can do about that post-COVID.
Listen, that's a separate issue. I've lived that issue intimately. We can get to that another day because it is a problem. But I want to get these kids back to school, of course. But the damage that's being done to these kids by not being allowed to, just be out on a field, participate in team sports, and all the great things that come with it. And frankly, at this stage, not 9 months ago, knowing that it's happening successfully in towns that are literally hundreds of yards, quarter mile away, that kind of thing, just doesn't jive. So the obvious question for you, I think, is how much, in your opinion, is money at the root cause of the decision not to let these kids go play?
I don't think so. I'm not even sure whether there's more money in opening or closing. I think it's just about balancing the health benefit, the mental health benefit for kids to play, and wanting to slow the spread of a deadly pandemic. And I think the sweet spot is getting health protocols in place so that this is not going to look like a normal sports venue did pre-pandemic. There's going to be lots of precautions with masks and hand washing and keeping people home if they test positive. But it'll give a chance for kids to have this outlet. So I think that's the balance we need. And I'm hoping the mayor will announce a decision on this soon.
Do you feel like New York City has dropped the ball and is behind all the other counties that have successfully made this happen?
Well, New York City's had a much more serious impact from this pandemic and does today. The level of spread today. We have over 3,000 people hospitalized with COVID this afternoon. We're still getting 75, 80 people dying a day. So this is real. And we have to be cautious to save lives. But I do feel that now this is the moment where, with the right protocols in place, we can do this for the health benefit of kids. And you guys have shown that you're a political powerhouse, that you can organize. And I wish you did it more on more issues. And
well, the people
on
on this.
access.
Listen, I have kids that are in grade school and high school, and I used to live in New York City, so I'm sensitive to it. And I've been, as my family, I've said this many times, we've been blessed to be associated with some of the great youth leagues in America that are located right here in the 5 borough, and the men and women that have dedicated their lives to kids playing sports and all the great life benefits that those kids get. Those guys are pulling their hair out because their whole lives are dedicated to the growth and maturity of young men and women, and they see what's happening. And I'll say this. I know this started because Evan was contacted by the guys that run the Catholic High School Athletic Association. I appreciate them getting a letter to me. This impacts the minority communities so much more. Kids that live in the 5 boroughs that go to public school who need sports as an outlet even more so than some other kids might based on family situations.
And wealthier kids are able to find a way through private outlets, and it's profoundly unfair. You're right. This is about equity for kids who might not have a lot of money, but who aren't taking fancy vacations, but who depend on sports for a healthy outlet. And good for you for bringing up the equity aspect. That's certainly driving my decision making on this.
All right.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if me or Craig saying anything will do any difference, but there is one thing that you said that I completely agree with, and that is everybody, when they're able to, should get vaccinated, because that is the best way to get back to normal. So I don't know and I know there are people who are afraid of it or against it for whatever reason. I'll use my voice to say I hope that every single New Yorker and every American will do what's best, not just for themselves, but for everybody else, and that gets and that's to get vaccinated when they're ready to. I don't know if my voice is going to make a difference. I don't know if I'm going to convince anyone, but I will tell you deep down, it is important as an American to do that, not just for yourself, but for your fellow Americans. So hopefully people listen and do it.
Final thing, Mark, before we let you go here, and I will say I do appreciate your willingness to come on and to discuss this, because you know how passionate people are about it and how angry people are. Do you think that you'll be speaking to the mayor about this prior to whatever announcements coming next week?
I'll reach out to City Hall right away, and I'll circle back to you guys and let you know what I learned.
Perfect. Well, I do appreciate your time today. The City Council Health Committee Chairman Mark Levine,